Hey there, good evening. Welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is Bronx Night's program where we talk to reporters, writers, editors, journalists, sports writers, and sportscasters. And I say that for a reason. And then in our second segment, we do arts and culture in the Bronx. And we've got a really cool segment coming up from the people at Cortlandt Park and the Cortlandt Park Alliance. But let's get started with my buddy, longtime buddy, but also somebody I respect because he's a baseball guy and is let's see, official MLB scorer, Sirius XM update anchor, columnist for NewYorkSportsDay.com. And I do put my friend up on top, the great Howie Karpin. Nice to see you, Mr. Karpin.
An absolute pleasure, as always.
Always nice to see you. Listen, we do the beginning of the year, we do the middle of the beginning of the baseball season, the middle of the baseball season. I'll probably catch you before the World Series. So let's just get right to it. You wrote a piece called "The Yankees' Second Half Resurgence." Can it happen? You got a couple of days now after the All-Star break to judge, and I don't mean a pun by that. How are the Yankees doing, and what are the chances?
I don't think they're very good, to be honest with you.
Well, we knew you'd be honest.
Well, this team is not built well. I'm sorry. They lack balance on offense. Their offensive numbers are putrid compared to Yankee teams of the past. I mean, it's incredible. But you could see where it goes wrong. There's a lack of balance there. They haven't had a left-hand impactful bat in 10 years maybe now since Robinson Cano. I mean,
Wow.
can you name a left-hand bat that scares opposing pitchers in their lineup? I like Anthony Rizzo, but he's the one guy, and right now he's not a primary player at this point in his career. So they lack balance on offense. They make mistakes on the bases. They're playing people out of position in the outfield. They went into the season needing a left fielder. They haven't filled that hole yet. And then they start Anthony Volpe at shortstop as a rook. I agree with the move, and I want to live with it. But you don't back yourself up with a veteran shortstop that could maybe mentor him, and
or a defensive replacement late in the game.
Yeah, but he's been fine on defense. Just, when he was struggling with the bat, maybe you bring this veteran guy in to play a game or two, and then the kid could sit and watch. He's learning from the other veterans. I like Volpe. I think he's a keeper. But it's a risk, putting a rookie in there, and they kind of left themselves short. And their schedule is tough in the second half. I don't buy this percentage garbage that they're playing a schedule with teams of lower percentages. They still have 7 with the Astros. They have a 6-game trip to Miami and Atlanta, and they're going to be battling Toronto 7 times in the final 2 weeks, one of their main competitors for the wild card. So this is why I don't see this happening for them.
Let me add one more side note to that. It is the major leagues, and I realize some teams are better than others, and some teams just are so overwhelming. I mean, the Dodgers look great against the Mets. Certainly the Braves are running away, and the Astros, of course, are very good. But, they're major league teams. I read maybe other than the Oakland A's, and they can beat you at any time, and you don't come with your best. But a footnote to that, and I'm sure there are many people who have asked you this question. Number one, would it be the same with Aaron Judge? And number two, if Judge comes back and he is healthy and he's able to do his thing, does that energize and at least take off the offensive pressure? I mean, Stanton is starting to play well. Is there still hope in that? Or, of course, his injury is a question mark. Nobody seems to know how to get that solved.
Well, their offense would be better. I don't know if that would translate into the win column. They still make the same base running mistakes with him in the lineup or not. Their defense is weak in the outfield when Bader's not out there and him not being out there. And left field is still the hole. And then they continue to, now that Josh Donaldson got hurt, they won't be having this, rotating infield situation, which I think has not worked. I think it's hurt LeMahieu in the long run. A lot of people think he's finished. I don't. And his bat came alive a little bit over the weekend. Right. I think, when it's in your mind that you're going to sit down, every 5th day as a regular player, you get 3 hits and you sit down the next day. It's ridiculous. Stanton last week had a 2-hit game and he sat the next night. I mean,
Well, this goes now to another question which has been in Yankee land, and that is Aaron Boone's stability. I feel like he doesn't have enough emotion. I realize he's been thrown out of a couple of games and all that, but I feel like he doesn't have like that angle, that aggressive angle that a good manager needs to have. And I wonder if certainly whether they make the playoffs or not. I mean, that may not be the waterline anymore. I wonder if his longevity is secure.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, he survived some, turmoil so far.
Yes.
Look, they'll point to his winning record. They won a lot of games with him,
Yeah.
but this is a team, that prides itself on getting to the World Series, and they've been in 10 playoff runs their last 10 playoff runs. They made the ALCS 3 times and lost to the same team. So why is it not getting done? Part of that is what I talked about originally, the balance. They
It
run up
doesn't
against
exist.
they make right-handed pitchers, mediocre pitchers, look like they're, the world beaters.
Okay, last question, and then we'll get to the Mets. Buyers or sellers when it comes to that time, the trade deadline?
I think it's buyers / sellers. I think they'll try and make some moves with the future in mind. I think they have to come to a decision on Gleyber Torres. He'll be a free agent after next year. You're going to pay him.
Oh,
You're going to pay him big money? I don't think so.
right,
So yeah, the trade deadline will be interesting. They don't have a lot of chips.
right.
They don't have a lot of chips.
Let's
So.
get to the Mets now. The Mets have played just abysmal baseball at times, and then and now really, folks, we're recording this on Monday. It'll air on Thursday. But the game last night, they showed a lot of heart. They got good starting pitching. They got a little clutch hitting at the end, and they won a major league game. On the other hand, on Friday night, they didn't even play him. They didn't even show up to play a major league game. They had no starting pitching, no bullpen, and no hitting. How do you read what's going on at Citi Field?
Well, their pitching is awful. Let's put it that way. Up and
Starting
down,
and
up
relief.
and
Well, the
down.
relief is terrible.
Relief is
Bullpen.
terrible, and the starters have been very, very subpar.
Mhm.
So that gets into the minds of the offense, no matter how much they deny it. Their offense is, the last few days it's been bad, but there are 2 factors in that lineup that have really dragged them. 3 really dragged them down. Starling Marte has disappeared. Jeff McNeil is hitting 75 points under last year's average. It's shocking to me.
Yes.
And Alonso is not the same. I think that wrist injury is going to haunt him the rest of the year. It's very tough for a hitter to get a wrist injury, come back. He came back real quick. I give him credit for that. He's a gamer. I love the guy. I mean, I got to meet him personally, and we had a chat. So, I wish him only the best. I just don't think this is the year for him. It's funny. I look at this for both local teams. There's been a key injury that has killed their season. Aaron Judge, obviously, for the Yankees. Edwin Diaz for the Mets.
Wow,
that set off a chain reaction.
Yes.
And not only that, the timing of the injury gave them no chance to make any backup plans. They had to go with what they had. They couldn't make any trades. He gets hurt right before the season. Killer omen.
You have to credit David Robertson, who has stepped up to be, as good as you could ask him to be. What do you make of Lindor hitting 230 something right now? Yet his power numbers, but he's also made some errors in the field, and wow, he's a half a step slow on that. He might have in another time made that play. What do you make?
I don't think he's a step slow. I think his batting average is a result of bad luck. You don't get 60 RBIs if you're not hitting. Especially this lineup, there really hasn't been a whole lot of table setters. Nimmo at the top, he's a nice leadoff man, but he doesn't give you that stolen base threat. To upset pitchers and maybe help the lineup later on where they would make a mistake. I love Lindor. He plays every day. He's still terrific. If he's driving in so many runs and getting the power numbers, the batting average has to be a result of bad luck. Now, he's hit some balls hard. He's also struck out a lot. If you notice his left-hand swing, when his hand comes off the bat, he's usually missing. When he hits a ball good lefty, both hands are on the bat through the completion of the swing.
I thought during the weekend series against the Dodgers, I think he looked out. He looked at third strikes like 4 times. I
Yeah,
mean,
he had a
eh,
bad weekend.
yeah, they certainly did. As far as Alonso, and I'm not saying you're wrong about the injury, but there's no left-handed power hitter behind him. What is the
Right.
Daniel Vogelback thing? I mean, everybody in the world can see that and nothing against him personally, but he's a liability. He can't field. He's a liability on the bases because he can't beat out a ground ball or to break up a double play or anything. And he's hitting 210 with very little power. Why is he still around? Nobody gets that.
I find it astounding. He doesn't belong on a major league roster. I have a feeling his time is coming, and I think we're going to see Mauricio up here and see what they got out of Mark Vientos. I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not big on Vientos from what I've seen. I know it's a small sample. I'm not that sold on Vientos like I am obviously on Alvarez. Alvarez is the real deal.
He's the real deal.
experienced.
He comes in like he's like Yogi Berra down there. He plays the game hard. No,
Yeah,
he plays the game. He plays all aspects of it. He wants to play. He hits in the clutch. He's got the power.
He's been good defensively. Remember, scouts told you they were worried about his defense.
Yeah, right.
This is why sometimes you really got to see a player to know what he's all about and not judge him by just the data.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'll see these guys up here. And look, I think they're already making plans to sell. They know they're sellers. They're not coming back. It's tough.
So sellers straightforward. In other words,
sellers,
no bones about it.
Unless they somehow go on and win the rest of the games in the month before the deadline. That's the only way it would change.
That'd be quite a show. And who would be the chips that could bring them somebody reasonable? I mean, people are talking about Pham, who's played well.
Robertson.
Wow, that would really be the sale.
And the 2 starters if they waive their no trades.
Yeah,
I don't know if Verlander has a no trade. I know Scherzer does.
But they both would arrive at other teams with tremendous experience, but they are not performing like Cy Young winners. They'd be number 3, maybe even number 4 starters on good teams. Who knows?
That's what good teams are looking for. They don't
Yes,
need
of course.
They don't need a number 1. That's why they're good already.
That's why they're good. Listen, Howie Karpin, official score for Major League Baseball, says he's not had an overturned call in 2 years?
In 2 years.
2 years. Congratulations.
I know I'll jinx it now, so.
I know it'll be my fault.
No.
But really, listen, we'll check you out on Sirius XM. And everybody, check out NewYorkSportsDay.com and find out all the great stuff Howie's writing. He provides insight on what we care about, the Yankees and the Mets. See you around, my buddy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back from that break, we'll go to Cortlandt Park. Don't go away.